everyone.
Hey.
I'm Alicia.
And I'm Meredith.
And this is Summer is Fun, a Summer House podcast, Season 8, Episode 4. I love Summer House. Summer House is just so fun.
I know. Even like when things are not good, it just always feels like hearted. Like it's sunny. We're near a pool. Like that's how I want to live my life. Like I want to be in this house. I want to watch this show.
I did miss Paige. She was missing. And I felt.
No. They were like, she's in Albany. And I was like, bitch, no. Come on. You know when this show was coming. Go see your parents before or after.
A different time, yeah.
I feel that way about when people have weddings. I'm like, no, you don't. No, that those people should plan their weddings around your filming schedule.
God. But also, yeah, they know you're on the show. But before we get into the actual episode, check us out on the A&M Podcast Network. We have this podcast. We have It's About the Pasta, a Vanderpump Rules podcast, which is live. This podcast also does Winter House and Martha's Vineyard Summer House. And we have One Season Wonders. Please be sure to rate, review, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Vanderpasta. And join our Patreon, patreon.com/Vanderpasta. Let me tell you what you could get. For $1 a month, you get access to all of our fun pre-shows where Meredith and I and sometimes Sarah talk about whatever the hell we want. Also, you get access to any episodes we record early, including this one. It'll probably be on the Patreon first. For $2 a month, you get access to everything I just mentioned. Plus, when we go back and we watch old seasons of shows, we'll do a Bravo after show, so we don't give away any spoilers on the podcast. But since this season is live, we'll talk about whatever spoilers we want on the podcast. Also, we'll say your name. So thank you to Allie, Chris, Darby, Dee, Gabriella, Jackie, Jamie, Jennifer, Kirsten, Casey, Kelsey, Chrissy, Lady Swamp Witch, Lauren, Robin, Sammy, Sarah, Sarah R, Tierney, Tonette, Tracy, Emily, Gina, Isabella, Leanne, Rio, Taylor, and Tara.
Woohoo.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then for $5 a month, you get access to everything I just mentioned. Plus, when we are in our live seasons, which is now, I will post in the Patreon and ask for your thoughts, questions, opinions, concerns, whatever, and we will read them on the podcast. Also, I'll pick a patron of the episode. So, this week's patron of the episode is Jackie, because I miss Jackie, and I hope Jackie's doing the best. And we love Jackie so much, and she was our first ever patron, and we'll never forget that.
I know. So yeah, it used to be the Jackie of the episode.
I know. So this is for you.
Here's to being the Jackie of the episode once more.
Cool. Okay, let's get into the show.
Yeah.
So, previously on Summer House, Ciara and West went on a date, and the stakes were high, but West was sweaty. Jesse kept flirting with Paige, and Amanda's about to fight for Craig's honor. Lindsay and Carl fought about Carl's sobriety, but they made up because Carl apologized. So, the episode starts without a song, and it makes me sad every time. We gonna stop.
You know what? I don't even notice it's not there anymore because that's how long it hasn't been there. I feel like it hasn't been there since the COVID season, I think, was the last season maybe, and that was weird because they weren't in the city.
I know, but occasionally I miss it, and this was an episode where I noticed it and I went, oh.
As soon as you sang it, I literally imagined Kyle riding that bike across the screen.
I like the shot where Lindsay's like on the phone coming out of the subway, and I'm like, you don't have reception down there, girly. There's no way. So anyway, we're in New York City. It's Friday, 3:17 p.m. Wes, Jesse, Ciara, and Gabby are all driving down together. We learned that Wes not only went on a date with Ciara, but he went on a lot of dates with Jesse. They've been hanging out a ton. They even went bike riding together. And they're like, they have mopeds in New York. They've discontinued them now, but you could rent them. And it looks like they were both riding one together, which is cute. God, I've done it. It's very scary.
Fun.
It's very scary.
That's a huge thing. Like the guys we've had in the past or like new cast members, you have to really immerse yourself in this friend group because Kyle has always said like this really is a friend group. And I think that's why like old cast members haven't been successful. Like either they just, you don't click as friends or you don't try. Like I think back to like Jules. Agreed. Like did Jules do anything during the week? Probably not. So go West and Jesse.
Also, they went out to dinner, and the waitress that they had called West baby, and Ciara's like, you know what, I'll beat her fucking ass. And West turns to her and he's like, really? I love that. I was like, ah.
I'm excited by them. Like, the stakes are really high because when you live with someone, it is different.
To be honest, I wish we could shut down some of the Lindsay, Carl, and Amanda and Kyle drama because I just don't care. And I want more of this. I want them just like hanging out more.
I know. I just want to see their little banter and their little jokes. And like, this is exciting. This is like my dream. If I were to ever do a share house or like go visit like somewhere and like
fall in love with West.
I want to fall in love with a boy in my house
who has great banter. Because
yes, like non-toxically,
we could fall in love with anyone.
Fall in love with someone. That I mean, true.
So Gabby's like, oh, so Ciara's mad. Did your date go well? And they're both like, yeah, the date was great. We went to dinner and then 2 bars after. Which, wow, you never leave dinner with them if you hate them. No, you know?
I know. And to like travel from one bar to another, even like
to another.
A bar after drink or after dinner is like makes sense, but to a second bar, like you really wanted to hang out and see places.
Yeah, crazy. So they're like, Jesse and Gabby are like, did you guys kiss? And Wes is like, yeah, with full tongue. And I was cracking up. It was so fun.
I wanted this on camera, but still, first kisses are so awkward. So like, I'm kind of happy it's not on camera for them.
They were probably drunk, so we made it. True. 2 bars after.
Good point.
They were drunk. Yeah. So we made it to the Hamptons. It's 4:28 p.m. Lindsay and Carl are first to the house. And then we cut back to Wes, Gabby, Jesse, and Ciara in their car. They're pumped for the weekend. It sounds like they're going to do a camp out. And Ciara's like, I'm going to make it all night. And Wes is like, because you're a nature girl. You're hiking all the national parks. It's just cute. They're fun. Okay, so back at the house, Lindsay's enjoying the quiet. And she's like outside relaxing, maybe closing her eyes, taking a mini nap. And Carl comes out and he's like, hang out with me. And Lindsay's like, what do you want to do? And Lindsay then describes them as COVID times. Because honestly, this is fair. Carl doesn't have a 9 to 5. So
and neither does Lindsay. Neither does Lindsay.
But Lindsay's like, I think trying to work on stuff, do the brand deals. She's probably at this point working on Hub House Nashville. She has more career ventures currently than Carl in this time. Yeah.
But she's working from home.
She's working from home. They're always together. Oh he's like, he has not as much to do. So he's probably like trying to hang with Lindsay all the time. And she's like, no. And so she's like, I just want space to miss him. And honestly, I get this.
I never thought about this in the last like 3 episodes we've seen with them. Like, this is my worst nightmare.
Same. I am surprised Lindsay's saying this because Lindsay's the type that would sew her skin onto Carl if she could, I feel like.
But I think she wants to be the one who is like all over someone. Like, it's like when she wants it. Like, she doesn't want it right now. Like, she doesn't want it all day 24/7. There is no escape. Whereas like she typically
has, like, cat energy where like when she wants to hang out with you, she will not let you go. But she wants. Also, I couldn't imagine working my job and having someone around that doesn't work. And then them being like, what are you doing? How's lunch? What's happening?
I've had that. I mean, not to this extreme, but like my dad has very flexible hours, especially like at the holidays. And I remember he would, whenever I was traveling, but I would go to their house like once a month and he would come home at like 3 p.m. and be like, hey, hi, like, let's hang out. And he would like sit in the room I was working in. And I'm like, I'm working. Like, I can't do this. Like, I have things I need to do. Please
Imagine an apartment. Like,
oh my God.
Like you hear him making like a smoothie while you're on a call and you're like, I want to die. Yes. I hate it. So
I would have to book a WeWork. Like I would need to get out. But she's a public figure. So like walking into a WeWork, like she can't just be a normal person like that.
I understand Lindsay's frustration here. Obviously, I still don't think she's right in any way most of the episode. But similarly to when Carl pitched like his sober sports bar, I feel for Lindsay.
Oh,
I just
Well,
like, what the fuck?
This is giving us the most context on their relationship outside of just fighting.
Yeah.
That like we desperately need, because I think like Lindsay has a tendency to like, for herself and for the audience, like be like, everything's perfect, everything's great, like we love this life. And it's like, you can still be happy in your relationship, but like have problems. Like, that's just life.
Yeah, I'm also adding on, of course, surprised that Carl is very needy, it seems. Is he just bored?
That's the thing. I wouldn't really define him as needy. I would find him probably as bored, and they're not on the same wavelength. Like you said, she's still working, but it doesn't seem like she's working in the same sense as like going to a 9 to 5 or even if you're working remotely at a 9 to 5, like that's much more structured. And so in past times, she may have been able to like run to the grocery store, at 10 a.m. with him. And then she's like in the afternoon doing things. But in his mind, it's like, we're having a day. So it's just like totally different intense as you're going throughout your day. And it's constantly changing every day because her work is so flexible.
Yeah, even in this moment when he was like, hang out with me, I was like, we always hang out. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm a person, I can't just sit there and not speak to someone. And if we're the only two in the house and it's like she wants quiet and I would have to go inside. I can't just
Meredith,
sit there and
if this is your partner you live with, you're already in comforting silence.
I know. I agree, but I wouldn't sit out there with her. Like, I think it's weird that Carl then continues to sit with her. Like, go in the kitchen and like sit in silence.
She separately. Doesn't want to talk. Go inside.
He makes this weird.
So we go back to the car. Paige won't be here. She's home in Albany. And so Jesse's going to take her room. And West is like, wait, so there's an opening for Ciara's bestie this weekend. That's going to be me. I love. So the car makes it to the house. Gabby and Lindsay kiss. I think it's weird when you just kiss for no reason when you greet.
I immediately thought about you. Like, the later kiss didn't bother me as much, but because like there was a reason. I am not
a greeting kiss.
I'm not this person. I think it's super weird. We have talked about, somehow this always comes up on these podcasts because people
it's when parents and kids kiss on the lips.
Family members, my mom's family, like in my mind they're not close, but then they like all kiss each other when they see each other, and I'm like, what are we doing, Mom? Why are you doing this? You don't do this with other people.
I don't like. But yeah, this like, also gross. I was just like, I don't think I meant to kiss people that I don't want.
We
to
don't
kiss,
even like to hug, so like kissing is like
it's true, wild.
Fuck.
So the boys are outside. Carl asked West about his date with Ciara. Wes is like, it was so good, but I was so sweaty. But he's going to ask her out on another date, which I can't wait for. And then Ciara, Gabby, and Lindsay are in the kitchen. So now it's 5:47 p.m. Kyle and Amanda show up. Kyle goes outside with the boys, and Amanda's inside the kitchen with the girls. So they have girl talk, and Ciara shares that her and Wes kissed when they went out. On the lips. Amanda over here, like, on the cheek? No, shut the fuck up, bitch. I wouldn't tell you we kissed if it was on the cheek.
Yeah, that's not a kiss.
So then Lindsay's like, was the kiss better than me? Because Lindsay grabbed Ciara and forced a kiss upon her that one time. And Ciara's like, it was less tongue because Lindsay, you're very aggressive with your tongue.
When they showed that, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, Lindsay's wild. So Ciara describes it. She says she was leaning in for the hug. And Wes goes, I'm doing it, and kissed her, which is hilarious.
I want to know what you think about this.
This is great because I openly hate when people go, "Can I kiss you?"
I agree.
I hate because I love
and like, that it's wait for a response.
Yeah, I like Wes's personality where he would just be like, "You know what? I'm doing it,"
I'm going
and that's
for it.
Funny.
I think that's funny. Hot. Like. Because it kind of like...
It takes me by surprise, but you give me a warning-ish.
That's the thing, is like, it's kind of like a nod towards consent without directly pausing and being like, I'm doing, like, you good with this? Like, the pause makes it awkward, and then it makes me not want to kiss them.
Also, there's nothing weirder than when you're like so close in the hug and they go, can I kiss you? And then just stare at you waiting. This would be like you're a hug and it breaks the ice. It's like,
Yep.
I'm doing it. And he just
so you
grabs
know
you
it's
and you'd
coming.
be like,
So if you really didn't want it, you could turn your cheek, and like that is then obviously the nonverbal cue that I'm not
you'd
into
be like,
this,
don't do it. Like,
yeah, like
whatever.
There's time for you to reject it, but like there's not really, you're not really asking and like waiting for a yes, which is the weird
this was
part.
hot. I'm in it. And if I go to 2 bars with you after dinner, I want you to kiss me. That's
the thing. Yeah, I'm clearly interested.
I liked it. So it lasted 5 Mississippis. And Lindsay's like, was it like this? And then her and Gabby kiss, and they hold it for a long time without tongue. And Wes sees, and he's like, they're chicks making out in the kitchen.
Which I think is so funny, because if girls like saw the opposite, which is very different, but like you would immediately know they're talking about you. Like West is not like, hey, they're talking about me and my date and me kissing Ciara. He's like, girls kissing.
If Jesse and like Carl went in for a kiss, they'd be like, oh my God, they're talking to West about the kiss. We immediately know.
Yeah.
But Ciara says it was more like a smacking kiss, which is
like
cute.
multiple,
you had to
like
throw the tongue in. Yeah, you had to throw the tongue in a few times. It's very cute. I'm here.
Lindsay's was awkward. Who just basically pecks for 5 seconds straight? Like nobody does that.
Her and Gabby too were just like moving their lips on top of each other.
It was so weird. I'm like, Lindsay, weird. What kind of kissing are you doing?
Yeah, was it that? Yeah, for sure, Lindsay. That was exactly it. So then Carl and Kyle talk. Kyle and Amanda had a wedding at some point.
It was like not this weekend. Maybe it was like a Thursday wedding or like a Wednesday wedding.
Dope.
I'm thrilled. This couple clearly took in mind their like filming schedule, so they weren't missing.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Kyle thought they were going to talk about their issues. They didn't. Honestly, there was too much drama with Carl and Lindsay to focus on Amanda and Kyle. They couldn't even focus on their own issues.
Like, what a scapegoat, though. They really weren't that involved.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be the same fight between Kyle and Amanda and the same fight between Carl and Lindsay. And at this point, I get the gist of it.
I agree.
I've made up my mind on both.
I do think Kyle and Amanda's will be a little bit more toned down, like slowly. Like we just won't see as much of the nuances of the fight because we get it. But with Carl and Lindsay, it's so explosive. We will keep getting every ounce of it.
I will guarantee you it's the same fight every episode. Like the same thing.
I can't do that. I cannot do this for much longer. I don't mind if you guys fight, but like give me a different flavor, please.
Give me a different reason. Fight about something else, you know?
And here's the thing, especially with Carl and Lindsay, if you're going to fight in the car, I need to start getting footage.
Oh my God. We'll get there. I have so much. So when they mention it, I have so many thoughts.
I just need production to step it up, please. You allow cameras in every other thing. Start giving them a Sprinter van. We love Sprinter
Meredith,
vans.
we have a whole segment about it. Even Carl says something. We will get there.
I know.
So Carl's glad him and Lindsay fought. They got it off their chest. Carl tells Kyle that he told Lindsay about his sober sports bar idea and how Lindsay said no. And Kyle's like, how did that make you feel? And Carl's like, Lindsay really took the wind out of my sails. And I was like, well, as she should probably for that idea, but you know what? Do you?
Yeah.
Lindsay
I approved declining this offer. You're a little too late in the game, especially for not being a restaurateur ever in your life.
Yeah. So Lindsay has concerns about doing stuff in the sober space, which I also understand a lot. I get the hesitancy. I do, because
it's a new space.
It's a new space people are exploring, because I think for a long time, the only people who were sober were people who had to be sober. Now people are more choosing to be sober, which is also fun. But like, I'm probably not going to a sober bar anytime soon.
I would go to one, but it's like, I'm not gonna, here's the thing is like, it's the 80-20 rule in marketing. It's like 80% of your business comes from 20% of your visitors. So it's like, you have to have a lot of return population.
Yeah.
And so like people I'm sure will explore it like 1 or 2 times dabbling in it, but like you need a consistent base to like hold, especially in New York, like to hold on.
And restaurants are crazy. So Kyle says Lindsay should have had a conversation with Carl about it instead of just shutting it down. I was like, well, they did have a conversation and she shut it down.
I do kind of agree with this though. Like I also, we don't know how the conversations have been like prior to the summer filming. So like has Lindsay been supportive and tried to redirect and find things like for Carl? Because that's what I didn't get in that conversation is Lindsay saying no, but what else like is of interest? Like she just shut it down. She didn't try to continue the conversation and like help find him a passion. So that's where I do think she could be better. And Kyle does like call that out. Like, is she, denying it, but, helping you kind of find something else?
I kind of wish more that she had said like, oh, what are your plans for this sober bar? Because I'm also interested in what Carl's thought is.
Yeah.
And then she
like, did this just pop in your head randomly, like right now while you're sitting here?
Yeah, he's sitting here and he's like, this is a sober bar, but what if I only had a sober bar for sports fans?
I bet so. And so she vetted it. Like, let's be honest, he's given up on every other dream. Like, I kind of wish she would have just like let him play this fantasy out, because he doesn't have a lot of follow through with like his other things.
Who knows? Okay, so Carl knows he needs to make a decision career-wise, but Lindsay's not listening to him. Great. So then Danielle gets to the house. Everyone cheers. That's how I want everyone to accept me when I walk into a room, please, from now on.
I saw the car pull up and I was like, who is coming? I, for a minute, forgot about Danielle, and then it made me so sad. Because we never got any footage of her driving there. Like, she just, like, appeared, and I was like, who is... And it was a Mini Cooper, or, like, is that what that car's called? Like, a Mini Cooper? I was like, what the fuck is this car?
Who's this car? Yeah. So it's Friday, 7:11 p.m. It's time to get ready for dinner. Carl's debating his third shower of the day. I love Lindsay on this. Carl's like, should I take another shower? And Lindsay's like, then take a shower. He's like, it'd be my third shower of the day. And she goes, so why do you need another shower then? Like, I hate when people debate the weirdest shit. Just do whatever you want.
That's the thing, is like, I don't want to have a discussion about this. I'm always just pro get in the shower, just stop wasting time. Like, the amount of time you talked about it, you could have just...
You could have been in and out. You're doing a body shower. You got it. So, we go out to dinner. Lindsay is drinking. She's pounding.
I felt bad for her at this point in the episode because I was like, at every step of them having a drink, they really highlight Lindsay. Like earlier, they, I think Gabby or Ciara made like martinis. And like, they always clip in Lindsay being like, yes, you make the best martinis. Like, let's take a shot. Like, I want to drink. Like, there were so many moments already at this point. And I was like, I just feel like they're doing her a little dirty, showing like
everyone's drinking.
Yes. And so I started to feel bad because I didn't realize what was coming. I kind of forgot about the preview that we got last week. But I was like, oh, that's not cool, production. But it does make sense later.
Lindsay goes to make a toast. She says, toast to good vibes, and she's enjoying this group, and the boys are bringing in good boy energy. And then the boys are like, yeah, Carl barks. Like, you want to hear him bark? And she's like, no, I might just give the ring back. And that joke doesn't really land.
No, everybody's reactions were like, what? Like, very confusing.
I probably wouldn't say that. I have made this joke with friends before where they've been like, oh my God, can you believe? Like, one of my friends was like, can you believe my fiance didn't wish me a happy Taylor Swift's birthday? And I was like, give him the ring back immediately. Yeah. Like, I'll make the joke, but this just, I don't think landed correctly because they've been fighting.
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing is like, they're already kind of concerned about you guys. And so they're kind of taking it seriously a little bit more than just like a norm, like not wishing a fiance like Taylor Swift's happy birthday. Like, this is not the time. Like, hold off on those types of jokes until you are in a better place.
So Lindsay keeps going on about how they're on a different path this summer, and they all cheers, and then Lindsay downs her martini and orders another one.
Yeah.
Whatever. You know what?
Based on people talking, like, because her speech also started with, like, does everybody have a drink? Like, I know I do. And then, like, the weird chakras thing. I was like, okay, she's she's definitely feeling herself. Like, she, at this point, I haven't seen everybody else really talk, but like, she's feeling like the drunkest girl at the party right now,
Yeah.
which is cool. Like, no worries. Everybody gets to have their
Do
moments.
you?
But like, the downing the martini, I was like, it's one of those moments where when you know your friend is like the drunkest person, you're like, oh, we didn't need that. No, don't speed this
Yeah.
train up. Like, please slow it down. Take some water, please.
Yeah. So Jesse asks Paige, or asks about Paige, and Ciara's like, "Oh, wouldn't you like to know?" And Lindsay's like, "Oh, we've been discussing how you have a thing for Paige, Jesse, but Paige is a kept woman." And Ciara says Craig's coming next weekend, so you've been warned. But Jesse doesn't think he's really crossed any lines. He's just been friendly. And Danielle's like, "Well, you touched Paige's leg." And Jesse in his interview is like, look, I'm not going to push with a girl that has a boyfriend, but am I going to say I'm not attracted to her? No, because I am.
I don't think he'll
and
up it anymore, but the like little touches and stuff, I think because people have called it out, like how funny that like your friends are like, we know you touched her leg.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's gonna go further.
I don't think he likes Paige. I think he barely knows Paige and finds her hot.
That I think he doesn't mind that she knows that he is attracted to her. And like,
yeah, he's like, whatever.
It's like, hey, the seeds are over there. I'm ready to plant them. If Paige was ever single, I think he would really start to like move.
If you break up with Craig, let me know.
I'm in.
You know, kind of thing.
It's like that great energy. Like, hey, I'm kind of in the wings if you're ever interested. But like, I'm not gonna like
that's fine.
Lean in and say, I'm doing this.
Yeah, whatever. Go do your thing, Jesse, you know? And then Lindsay spills her martini. So
that was
it's
bad.
11:08.
When somebody spills a drink, I'm like, oh, even if they're not drunk, I'm like, whoop, you're too drunk.
Same. It's very embarrassing to spill a drink. Even if it's water and you haven't been drinking all day. I don't like it.
Oh, that's the thing is like there's just life moments where I'm like, oh, Lindsay, this is just like things just happen, but I'm like, this episode's getting worse and worse for you.
Bad.
I'm like,
So it's 11:18 p.m. Amanda goes home and she's so happy. She goes home alone. This is the highlight of her life. And then at 11:36 p.m., we get everyone else out and about. West licks Ciara's face. It's very hot. I'm so in. Yeah. And then at 11:52, Carl's home. Amanda hears him. He just goes into his room.
Her door was cracked slightly, and so he's like, "Hi, Amanda." He like can see her.
Yeah.
And so then
Hi,
he
Amanda.
passes.
Hi, Carl. And then she kind of walks outside. And I thought she was going to go really check on Carl. But then she heard the front door open and it's Lindsay coming in. And so Amanda's like, I'm going to go make ramen, you know? I'm up. Might as well.
Yeah.
And so Lindsay goes upstairs. She asks Carl if she should sleep in another room. And Carl's like, it's up to you. But I will not be spoken to the way you are speaking to me. And Lindsay's like, no one's speaking to you a certain way. And Carl's like, Lindsay, you're accusing me of doing drugs again. And Lindsay's like, no, I didn't. So Carl explains in his interview, they were at dinner at 11:30. Carl wanted to go home. I get it. You're sober. I would want to go home too.
Yeah.
Lindsay goes with him. And Lindsay, again in the car, asks what's wrong with Carl. And Carl says it's been a long day and he's tired, but she won't let it go. And then he asks her how many drinks she's had. And then she asks what he's on. And he says nothing. And she calls him a liar. And now Carl is pissed. And he is right. It's not okay that Lindsay keeps doing this.
Yeah.
So Lindsay then asks Carl in the room if Carl smokes weed. And he's like, yes, I do, but I didn't tonight. And Lindsay's like, you're the biggest gaslighter I've ever met. You're literally like Sandoval right now. And that gets Carl right up out of bed. God. And he goes, I will talk to you in the morning. And Amanda hears everything. Amanda's at the bottom of the stairs waiting for her ramen water to heat up.
I do and don't want to be in this position as Amanda. As Amanda, I'm like, wow, I wish I never got out of bed. Like, I want to listen to all this, but I do not want to be in it. Like, I wish I had
made ramen half an hour ago and I was eating it in my bed.
Because I want to listen to it all, but I don't want to, I don't want to talk to anyone about this, especially
I want you to think I'm
moment.
Asleep. Yeah, I want you to think I'm fully asleep, eating my ramen, watching my TV.
Yeah, I want to like tiptoe to my lights, turn them off so you can't even see that I'm awake.
Yes. So Lindsay then storms downstairs and is like yelling, not yelling at Amanda, but like is mad. And she goes outside. Well, she looks at Amanda. She's like, outside. And then Lindsay tells Amanda everything is pinned on her and he's a fucking terrorist. And Amanda's like,
she's using
what happened?
Like, really strong language. When she called him a terrorist, I was like, oh, okay.
An emotional terrorist? Like, what are you doing?
I feel like that's worse than being called Sandoval, because I think she's just trying to like get at him with the Sandoval comment, but like calling him an emotional terrorist, I find worse.
I didn't know it. I was Amanda. I want everyone to know I'm Amanda in this situation. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Kind of moment. I don't even know.
I'm pissed we don't have footage. Like, I am lost because I don't know what's going on.
We'll get there. So, Amanda's like so confused, and Lindsay tells Amanda Carl wanted to go out and then he wanted to go home, and the car is picking him up, and Lindsay like goes with him, and then he's aggressive, and she says Carl switches the narrative and accuses her of drinking and says she says if he's going to accuse her of drinking, then he better be clean. And I was like, well, it's not accusing you if you're doing it.
I was thinking the same
You are
thing.
drinking. You are.
He's not accusing you. He's pointing out that you're drinking, which, like, depending on how he does it, is good or bad. But, like, he's not accusing you of anything. You're accusing him. He's telling you that.
Yes. Well, I have a question for you, because I'm famously not like when I get drunk, I just don't care. I'm like very whatever. But you have been known to send some rage texts.
Yeah.
If someone who is sober is in a car with you, and like you guys are tiffing a little bit and they go, how many drinks have you had? Would you get upset about that?
Here's the thing. It's the context. If somebody was like, well, you've been drinking, like, and they're sober, like kind of fighting about us fighting, I'd be like, fuck you. I'd be annoyed that they said it. But I wouldn't be like, I can't believe they're accusing me of drinking. Like,
yes, but I'm wondering if you would get upset.
Self-awareness of being like, fuck, I just got called out, you know? Like, if they're sober, if we're both drunk, like, that would piss me off. If they were like, well, you've been drinking, you know?
Yeah. Okay, someone's sober, and I'm not talking, it's not like a situation where it's like, you're not going to drive because you've been drinking. It's more of like, you don't know anything because you've been drinking. What would you be mad a little bit? You'd be like, what the fuck?
No, because I have had this moment. I actually have had a moment where I've rage texted someone who was not drinking in the moment. And they usually just don't, like, they won't play into it, like, the fights, which, like, I want the fights.
Okay, if they are, Meredith.
I know. But then I've also had moments where I have been called out, and they're like, hey, I just, like, you're doing it. Like, you're drunk, you're wanting a fight, like, whatever. Like, they didn't say it in those words. And this was all over text, so I think text is also harder because you don't get to read tone and stuff. But, like, that made me sad, so then I shut down and I, like, stopped fighting with them. Like, it did call me out in a good way to be like, yo, chill out, you know?
Yes, but I want to know, because I just need you to answer. If it's your partner, your fiance, and you're arguing about something, and they say, how many drinks have you had? Would you get mad?
Me off. Yeah.
That would piss me off a little. I wouldn't be like, you're accusing me of drinking when I am.
You're accusing me of being worse off than I probably feel I am. But then the next day...
That's it. The next day you should realize.
I feel like we could discuss that. But, like, yeah.
In this moment, you would be a little sad.
If somebody said, like, how many drinks have you had? It would feel like they were counting, and that's what would bother me.
Oh,
it's like, you've been waiting for me to tip over the edge, I guess.
To fuck up,
or, like, you're really, like, eyeing me on, like, how drunk I am. But I kind of don't feel like he said I don't think he started off with how many drinks have you had. I feel like he was like, hey, you're drunk and I'm sober. Like, let's discuss this tomorrow. And she would be like, no. And he would be like, well, how many drinks do you think you had? Like, rather than like less accusatory and more like see my point that you're
in his words. They were arguing. She wouldn't let it go of like what's wrong with him, and he asked how many drinks she has had.
Yeah, I feel like he's the how many drinks probably came off as like, see my point, like you are drunk, not like I've been counting your drinks.
I'm wondering, because I'm not known as like a mean or mad drunk. Like
Yeah.
I will just not. But I could see myself if someone's like, well, how many drinks have you had? I'd be like, excuse me?
Yeah. It would definitely
Zero.
piss me off.
I'd be like 0 and I'm fine. As I wobble. But like, yeah, I could see myself being like, why is that important? 1:15, it's all the same, you know? But obviously, I think Lindsay's out of line. I think she's like, he's accusing me of drinking. But I was wondering from your perspective, if that comment if you're hammered, if that comment would strike something.
Absolutely.
I think it would for me.
Depending on the context around it. If that's the first time, like, you're pointing out that I'm drinking, it would, like, light me up.
So basically, Lindsay's like, if he's going to accuse me, he better be clean. And Amanda's like, well, he is. So.
I wouldn't feel that way, though, because I would just be mad that you're counting my drinks. And to me, my drinking has nothing to do with your sobriety.
Completely agree. So Carl then jumped out of the car. It was not moving. He had it stop first, just in case. And Amanda's just eating her ramen. And she's like, that's crazy. Yeah. And Lindsay says, Carl is amazing, but Carl has a lot of demons, and those demons come out on her. And she's the only person who has seen his bad side. So now it's 12.
Wait, what did you think about that? Because I was like, we have watched him for 8 years. I feel like I've seen his demons.
I think Carl can... Listen, I'm not, again, trying to defend what Lindsay's done, because I think calling out your sober fiance on national television saying they're on drugs or something, that's great. That's insane. And this marriage should have ended for that. That being said, I do think Carl has a tendency to get angry. I think we've seen it. I think even if it's just frustration, I do think that he's not, and I've said this, he's not the best communicator. He has never been the best communicator.
Well, he's like really avoidant, and then he blows up.
Yes, which I think is the opposite of Lindsay. But, and I've also said I could never date Carl. I just think he probably does come across as a little more aggressive, and he's a big dude, right? So like, you come off more aggressive when you're a big dude and we're in a small space.
When you're like towering over someone, even when you're like sitting down, he's always like bigger than her.
Yeah, I do think he has demons. Your demons come out on the people you love most. So do I think that he's completely perfect? No, but do I think he has this frustration of someone he's very close to is drinking a lot and he's not, and already he's a bad communicator. He doesn't know how to communicate with that. And Lindsay's not exactly communication 101. So like them together, if they're not both sober, they're a mess.
It bothered me that the way she said it felt like he's the only one. Where I'm like, come on, like Lynn, like this is where her lack of self-awareness always drives me nuts, because she always loves to like play up other people's problems. And I think that's so unfair to do if you're not going to like, if you're just, it feels like she's like blaming it 100% on him because he quote unquote has demons.
Yeah, I do think Lindsay needs self-recognition to know that she probably shouldn't drink as much as she is.
Yeah.
If she A, gets combative, and B, is with someone who's sober. Like you and I have discussed, we have self-realization enough that we probably couldn't date a sober person
at
this point in our lives.
And Lindsay's older than us, but like I've gone through in the last like 6 months realizing that like how angry I get when I drink is like, that's not okay. Like that's on me. Like even if someone triggered me, like that's on me for my reaction. And so like A, I need to not drink as much, and B, there's certain alcohol that like lights me up even more. Like wine makes me very emotional, and so like I cannot drink wine. I can maybe have one glass like with a dinner, but like I want her to be okay. And so it does really make me sad when I watch her like struggle so much in this stuff, both of them, because they have an equal part in this for different reasons.
I really do think their relationship in a way was set up to fail, in the sense that he shouldn't have gotten in a relationship so soon after becoming sober. She shouldn't have changed herself for him, because she's just going to go back to what she wants, which is drinking.
And that's
she was sober for a long time.
Yeah, but the first year of your relationship was a different relationship, because everybody without alcohol is so different.
Yeah, it wasn't like fake, but it was like a pretend, like, oh, he's sober, I'm gonna be sober with him.
It was
And
a
then I'll
relationship
drink.
like in a vacuum. Like you set up basically a perfect
Yeah.
situation.
Yes. And now that it's not, and there's stress, and one of them is drinking, and the other one doesn't know how to handle that, I think the relationship was set to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Saturday, 12:24 a.m. Lindsay's venting to Amanda. Amanda's like, hey, you know what? We should sleep this off because things are going to look better in the morning. Carl is already in a different room. So he's not sleeping next to Lindsay. Amanda's exhausted. She can't wait to go to bed. The rest of the house gets home. Gabby can't find Carl because she like peeked her head into Lindsay's room and she's like, Carl's not in there. And everyone's like, God, they're engaged. They really need to fucking figure this out. Specifically, Jesse. He's like, this is a fucking mess. And Gabby's like, yeah, weddings can be stressful though. And Jesse's like, I disagree. I think you should have it figured out if you're going to get married. Which he obviously didn't watch Amanda and Kyle season because I didn't think they were going to walk down the aisle.
I thought Kyle was going to kind of defend them because like Kyle was standing like right behind Jesse.
Kyle
I really thought he was
should've.
going to be like, hey, you know, sometimes it does get the better of you. But weirdly, in defense of Kyle and Amanda, they planned like 4 weddings. So I feel like the stress really got to them in a different way.
Well, also, they were planning a wedding and Kyle was opening up a company and it was COVID.
Yes. I think you are bound to have more arguments when you're planning a wedding because there is more stress. Like there's a lot more going on, but these are not the types of fights. I feel like you would have like your partner would just annoy you. I don't think you'd be calling out his sobriety, you know?
Yeah, that's wild. So Danielle, gotta give props. She goes outside to the pool because she knows like the tension within for the house, talking about Carl and Lindsay. That was her last year. She doesn't want to be involved. So she goes outside, but I love her going, my instinct is to comment on this, but I'm not letting myself.
I mean, the restraint she had, I cannot commend her enough.
Self-awareness.
I would never have the strength to do this because I love a good gossip session, especially about people fighting. Like it's ingrained in me from my childhood. Like, I need to know every detail. I need to know.
My only thing is, I would maybe not comment. I would just listen. She fully removed herself. I was like, Danielle, you don't even want the gossip?
I think she knows herself. Like she probably would really need to comment. So having any information helps her not. It's like, all or nothing. She just needs to not be involved at all.
I give it to her. Good on you. That's amazing.
Because what if she got like blamed for not like defending Lindsay like later?
Yeah, she's like, I wasn't even there.
No part of this.
Deniability. I wasn't even in the house. I was outside miles away.
I mean, go Danielle. You're crushing it. I'm sad for you because I want you to have the drama.
I want it. But. Yeah. So it's time for bed. Wes and Ciara, I was like, oh my God, are they going to share a bed? Because they're hanging out. Wes shares that one of his biggest fears is that he kisses with his eyes open, which cracks Ciara up. But then they kiss and she's like, close your eyes. And he's like, okay. And they kiss. And then he stays for a little bit, but then kisses her goodnight and leaves. And it was very cute.
I was so sad he wasn't sleeping in bed with her.
But also I love my own space. And so does Ciara. I bet she was like, thank you for hanging out till 4:30 in the morning. Goodbye.
True. I like you get the enjoyment as if you're falling asleep together. And then it's like, okay, bed to myself.
Also, we're in my bed, so I don't need to get up and go anywhere. So bye.
No, I don't like people infiltrating my space. Like I would sleep in your bed. You're not sleeping in mine.
Oh, this
like it's a hard boundary for me. I'm like, don't ever touch my space.
I love. So it's now Saturday, 9:17 a.m. The house is starting to wake up. Carl says what happened in the car last night. It's unfortunate because there's no camera. He says in his interview, he goes, it's unfortunate we don't have a camera. And I was like, yep. So why don't we? Bravo. And this is where, Meredith, you could do your rant.
Okay, here's my thing. Sprinter van would be incredible for this group. Like they used to go on like Sprinter vans or like party buses like to the wineries and we used to get that footage and like those were fun. Car footage in Bravo is some of the best footage. Like, look how Southern Charm went down this last season. Like, give us the goods. Like, it's really fun to do this. I get that they take Uber, so it can be difficult. like this was a coming home night. But like the one where they were going to dinner, especially last weekend, I'm like, get us a fucking camera in that car. So that's frustrating to me. But I can see more clearly why Carl called cameras, especially like if all summer, especially if this is going to keep happening, if all
Dude,
summer
yeah.
they're fighting and he is clearly noticing that like he doesn't have the footage to help back him up in these conversations. And I truly believe the sober person is more reliable than the drunk person. But Lindsay makes her argument like her memory is like she was sober. Like that is how she's
Yeah.
arguing about it the next day, always too.
Yep.
I would want this documented.
Same. I get
Every
it.
fight from here
It's
on out.
very, honestly, it's similar to Ariana was like, Sandoval's gonna turn it into his
Yep, I need
story, and I'm
cameras.
not gonna let that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it.
I'm not mad he called camera. I was never
I'm not
mad as a
mad.
viewer.
I was.
But like
I was.
as a viewer of a TV show, we want it. Like I think we can all agree on that. But then when you think about it being their real life, if that was me, I would be so upset that he called
Heartbroken.
cameras and did that. But now I understand and I back him if I was like his friend. Like Lindsay always has the right to be mad because like that's her real life and that sucks and is embarrassing. But as his like friend, if I was his friend, I'd be like, yeah, you need that on camera.
I agree. I think because there was no other footage for him to be like, you guys saw it kind of thing, even though we do see it. Anyway, Carl says he was sober. He doesn't care if Lindsay drinks, but he cares about her behavior changing when she drinks. So Carl goes back to his room to change into his workout gear. And he says there are plenty of people that can drink that don't change like that. But then, this is funny. Jesse and Carl are up, and Jesse's like, bro, what happened last night? And Carl tells him, and then Jesse asks if Lindsay's always been like this. And Carl's like, yeah, she is. So Jesse's like, you knew what you signed up for. Like, Carl, I agree. People should not change their behavior like this when they drink.
Yeah,
but for
no,
Carl
I agree.
to be
As
like,
someone even who does it.
But for Carl to be like, yeah, she's always been like this. I'm Jesse now. I'm like, you fucking knew, bro.
I am so happy we have a Jesse because Jesse has never been friends with them too. Like West has been friends with them, so he already has like a skewed vision of them, you know, like
perspective,
he knows them. Jesse like is finding this information out boots on the ground. Love that he asked this question that Carl has to be like, yeah, I kind of have always known she was going to be like this. And he does say like, I thought she would mature, which I get that kind of like hope and desire too. But as someone who is like a Lindsay when she drinks, it's really hard to change. I can't change me being drunk and angry. I can only change how much I drink, what I drink. You know, like I can't really change the end behavior. I have to change where it starts. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So like I will always be an angry drunk. Like it's just who I am, and like I can't stop that because I'm incapacitated. But
listen, I get it. I fully get it. But yeah, what Carl, I mean,
but I think
you can't be surprised.
I wonder if that's the first time he's really reflected on that. Like, and like sat there and had to be asked that question because everybody else just knows Lindsay's like this. So nobody ever asks him this. So he's like,
and
fuck,
Carl
it
was her
has
friend.
Always been this way. He's seen her in relationships. Like, I wonder if he's like, this will never change. And so I wonder if now he's starting internally to reflect, like, do I want this for the rest of my life? Like, how your partner is when you meet them is how you should, like, you have to own that they could be like that forever.
Carl's also like been her friend, similar to how Danielle, like, I think they were both blinded on how she actually is.
Well, you just get so used to it that you kind of accept it.
Yeah. And it's not normal. Towards you most of the time. Yeah.
True.
So Jesse doesn't know what he doesn't know, but he can't imagine this is how you're supposed to be when you're engaged. And I feel the same way. I've never been engaged or planned a wedding, but I just think that this is insane.
I agree. It kind of reminds me of like Stassi's Dark Passenger on Vanderpump. But like Stassi and Beau like took time and effort to like work through it. Whereas like this is just constantly a problem and there's no real working through. Like it doesn't seem like we're trying to like, again, fix it from the beginning. It's just like, who gets the blame at the end?
Yeah. So rest of the house is up. Lindsay goes into the kitchen. They're making breakfast. Jesse and Wes have the cutest little friendship. Carl and Lindsay are not talking this morning. Amanda goes out by the pool. And then Lindsay's like, I'm going to go outside. And the whole house can tell there's tension between Lindsay and Carl because Carl tries to get the door. He's like, here, can I get this? She goes, no, I got it. And she walks through and then he slams the door behind her. And everyone's like,
That was
you not at
purposeful.
breakfast?
Slam
What, the
doors.
slam? Yeah.
Oh yeah, because like sometimes you know how like you don't really mean to, and then you're like, "Fuck, sorry." That was very loud. That wasn't like you know. There's sometimes like it's just like, was that a slam door? This was a slam. As someone who loves to slam a door too, this was a slam.
Wasn't the best.
No.
Okay.
This is only gonna fuel it too. Like, Carl, come on. Like, again, you're the sober person. I kind of hold you to a higher standard in these fights.
Lindsay's petty as shit.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, Carl is, in my opinion, thus far, in the right. And so, like, I'm like, don't stoop to her level. Like, don't give her something to actually tell you that, like, you're doing wrong.
Listen, I'm more mad for the rest of the house. Like, can I not enjoy my bacon?
How awkward.
We just woke up. We're hungover. Wes and Ciara are just starting to chat. Why do you gotta ruin the mood, you know?
Knowing they haven't spoken, it just like builds the tension for the rest of the house. Like all day, you're constantly like looking at their interactions. Like, when will they talk? How will that go?
Yeah.
Like,
so whatever. Amanda and Lindsay talk. Amanda's like, hey, remember the argument? That is so crazy. What starts these things? And Lindsay says, anything. They get into conflict patterns, and there's a therapy word for you. Carl questions Lindsay's alcohol intake. So if he's going to do that, she's going to question the intake of what he does. And Amanda's
I don't think that's cool. I don't think that's cool.
Either.
Just because he does it doesn't mean you get to do it, especially when he's a sober person. I think it means something different.
Yeah. And Amanda also is like, oh my God. So Amanda's like, okay, but you keep bringing up how he's doing drugs, and that is a sensitive subject. And Lindsay just finds it very hypocritical. Like, if he questions her drinking, she questions his weed. And I said, so why doesn't she say, how much weed have you smoked instead of what are you on?
I agree. Like
that's better. Just because if you say what are you on to me, I'm assuming we're talking cocaine. If you say how much weed have you smoked, I know what we're talking about. We're talking about weed.
It's less charged because it just is. Like, the drug is so different. And Lindsay's saying, like, I have never really questioned if he's done drugs. I'm like, you will have alluded to it though. It's not really about like what you're intending. It's like the perception of it. And you are choosing not to use the word weed.
Agreed.
And like, that's not cool.
So Amanda says she gets it. And I think she only gets it because she doesn't want to be yelled at by Lindsay.
That's the thing.
So
I don't think she's willing to tell Lindsay she's wrong here.
No, she's just trying to get through the weekend.
Not her responsibility too.
So she's like, I get it, but you're not specifying weed. And Lindsay was like, I was yesterday. And Amanda's like, okay. So Amanda goes, you can't fight every weekend, Lindsay. And then Carl and Ciara walk outside. And then Amanda and Lindsay are like, okay, let's listen. We want this to work out, but let's stop talking about it because Carl's outside. But Amanda does say, if you ever want to talk, I'm here for you. Danielle cleans the kitchen. The whole house goes in the pool. Ciara and Amanda are in matching bathing suits, which angers Amanda because she's like, Ciara, have you not seen your body? How could you do this to me?
I was like, Amanda, you are incredible.
I literally went, Amanda, if only you knew what I thought of you.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed.
But it kind of shows like no matter what size you are or whatever,
you always
have so many of us, like women, have such difficult relationships with our body, and like we're not alone in that. Like, even people like we think
even Amanda
struggle.
The love of my life.
Sucks being a woman.
So Amanda says in front of the whole group she has a great husband this weekend, and Kyle's like, thanks, I'll keep it up.
Everybody like cheered, and I cheered too. I was like, yeah, Kyle.
He's like, great, I can't fuck it up now. And she's like, yeah, don't. So it's 11:45 a.m. They got to leave to go to what I thought was called catfish, but it's cowfish. But you can see where If I only heard a little,
funny. You kept
you can hear how I got it mixed up.
I do subtitles. Did you not always?
Oh, I was on my iPad. I didn't have subtitles, so I went, "Oh, they're going to catfish." No, cowfish. But you can see where if I just heard a fish, where I assumed it
That's
went.
true. That's a good fill in the blank. If this were Wordle, I would understand why you got there, but you would get it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So Wes and Jesse hang out in the pool for a little bit, and then the other boys jump in, but it's time to get ready to go shower. Wes asks Ciara if she's going to jump in the pool, and Ciara goes, "No, get to know me."
I love their banter.
That was awesome. So the boys talk. The boys ask about Lindsay.
I like how they're whispering at first. They're like, "How's Lindsay?
How's Lindsay?"
I'm scared of her. I would whisper anytime I talk about her.
You know Lindsay's on the balcony.
I'm so scared
listening.
of her.
She's got ears. So Lindsay and Carl haven't talked. Carl explains what happened in the car, and he gets emotional that Lindsay keeps accusing him of doing drugs or being on something, and that's unfair. And it doesn't add up why she does it. When Carl says, "Let's table this because you've been drinking," she then gets triggered by that. And it sounds like Lindsay drinks a lot. It sounds like she, around noon, pounds some rosé,
oh my God,
eats or drinks something with dinner. So she's not only just drinking, she's drinking.
That's the thing. Him going through how much she drank yesterday. Yeah, that was bad.
It was like at noon, she had 3 drinks before they drove down, and then she got here and had more drinks. And listen, Lindsay, baby, who am I to judge your drinks?
No.
I mean, just last night, I had at least 7.
Love having a day.
Yeah, please. However, you are, first of all, living and engaged to someone who is sober. Yeah. So the noon rosé, that's got to go. I don't do that shit.
It was a noon rosé after their workout class too. Like, again, no shame to anybody who's doing it, but you can't stack it all together.
Yeah, especially if you know you're kind of an angry drunk.
Or if you do, you're like, "Oh, this is why this happened. Like, I had a day."
Yeah. My judgment comes drinking before you get in the car to go to the Hamptons. That's 3 hours, girlie, because we're not drinking open container in the car. So
don't you have to pee? Like, I have to pee a lot when that's 4 drinks. I'm like, yeah, that's a 3-hour drive to the Hamptons. Hell no.
I'll judge the fuck out of that. But then, okay, I get it. We're going to have a fun day in the Hamptons. We're going to have some rosé. We're going to do martinis. That's great. We're going to keep the martini train going. Once you spill that martini, I think we're done. I think we need some self-realization. Yeah. Also, no one likes to go to bed hammered. Okay, at some point you start to sober up. Also, we're in our 30s at this point. We get bad hangovers. I really think let's say we're going to go home at 2. By 1, we should stop drinking and start drinking water. We don't want to throw up in an Uber. I'm just saying there's a lot of thought I put into my science. But the drink after the workout class at noon is wild to me.
It's that she was the only one who had a day. Like, you know how like Sundays like just roll into each other. Like if they were having a party, it happens, and it's like we're all doing this. It's it's
just her day.
Yeah, and when you're it just becomes very obvious when you're the drunkest and the only drunkest at the party.
I've never understood getting a drink alone. Like, if I go to a workout class with Carl.
I will have a drink at home alone. Like, a glass of wine at home alone is not as weird. But, like, yeah, if you're like at a bar.
Meredith, you and I go to a workout class at 11. We get out at noon. No. I'm going to get a glass of rosé. You enjoy your water?
Yeah.
That's wild. That's crazy. That's crazy. So, whatever. So Kyle says Lindsay's irrational when she drinks, and Lindsay told Gabby that Carl is acting like the old Carl. And Carl gets very upset like this because it's not the old Carl. But if she wants to see the old Carl, he'll drink 15 lover boys and they'll have a real fucking problem.
Like, no,
and I went, no. But that did help me be no.
There is a big difference. Like, even if he gets mad at you, stop calling him old Carl, because him just getting mad at you shouldn't it be like a callback to him on drugs and drinking? Like, why can't he be mad? Or like, why can't he have a bad moment without being called old Carl? Like, I didn't even think about that
Agreed.
last weekend whenever they got into this fight. Like, calling him old Carl is also like a similar trigger of being like, what are you on?
Yes,
Like, come
agreed.
on.
So it's Saturday, 12:27 p.m. Carl and Lindsay still aren't talking, but they got to get ready together, you know? So what does Lindsay do? She goes to get herself a glass or 3 of rosé, you know? She get it flowing.
She was doing that in her room too. This is where I was like, wow, they're really gonna.
No, in Gabby's room.
Oh, it was Gabby's room. But either way, the rosé bottle in a room. I'm like, they're gonna show us now every time Lindsay drinks. Like, she does not get grace. They never show us when the other cast members like pour a drink, really, unless it like is all in the kitchen together. I bet you every time that girl pours a drink, they will show us. I'm shocked they don't put up like a drink counter.
Well, because it's just, that's the problem at this point. That's the conflict.
Yes.
So,
and again, as a person who does this, like, I know that me drinking a lot is what leads to it. But, like, I don't think Lindsay is identifying that.
Absolutely not. So it's time to go, and Lindsay does bring her glass of rosé with her.
Also, her walking down the stairs, heels are hard, but again, these moments just, like, make it look worse, where she's like struggling to walk down the stairs because she's in heels, but it's like it makes it seem like she's like hammered.
Is she drunk? Yes. So car number 1, I'm gonna go car 1, car 2. So car number 1, Gabby, Amanda, Ciara, Jessie. Car number 2, Lindsay, Carl, Kyle, West, Danielle. So in car 2 with Lindsay, Carl, and all them, Lindsay brings up how she heard West and Ciara made out all night and says she misses those days. Oh. And Carl and Kyle kind of like look at each other. Also, just for like West and Ciara's storyline, when they were in the kitchen, it wasn't that important, but I think someone was like, West said something like, oh, I didn't go to bed till 4:30 in the morning. And people were like, ooh, what were you doing? And he's like, I
don't know, ask my mom.
Like just something funny like that. I don't know,
ask my mom.
Yeah. Ask my mom. Yeah, whatever he said. So then Lindsay heard it, brings it up in the car, just so, and all Wes says is like, oh, you heard that? He doesn't like give a lot of details. Anyway, so then car number 1, Jessie is beatboxing, and they're like, hey, let's see who Jessie gets in a fight with today. And he goes, probably Lindsay, because I'm Team Carl. And Gabby's like, what? And then Gabby's like, is Carl okay? And Jessie says, no, Carl's not okay because he works so hard in his sobriety. And then your significant other is the one to tear it down. Yeah. And Gabby's like, okay, but like planning a wedding is really tough. But this is really bad. Yeah. She's like, it is really bad. Lindsay needs to start to own up to it. It's bad.
I bet Carl thinks about the cameras way more than everybody else too. Because just accusing me of not being sober would really bother me, but then to start getting super aware of like, you're doing this on camera, like this is to the nation, I would start to mentally spiral as Carl.
Agreed. I'd be very upset. So we get to Cowfish, and Lindsay brings up to Ciara, she's like, I heard you were making out last night. Ciara's like, okay. Great, Lindsay. Thank you.
Lindsay's not good at girl
the boys
talk.
play. No, she's terrible. So the boys play bags together. I would just like to say, I bet Jessie and West are really good at
hell
bags.
Yeah. Dude,
or cornhole,
West was wearing when he got to the house a like Kansas City sweatshirt, and I was like, my God, Charlie Hustle sweatshirt, Midwest represent.
There you go.
It's what I used to get when Sandoval used to wear St. Louis stuff before he smeared the name.
Fucked it up.
But yeah. I'm like Midwest, here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, when they were like, let's play bags, I was like, hell yeah, Jessie and Wes are going to fucking kill it because that's what you do. That's the game. Yes. So Ciara and Amanda talk. Ciara knows, they discuss everything in the house, but she wants to know what Wes is saying about the kissing because she doesn't like someone who kisses and tells. Yeah. And Amanda's like, I think Wes was just probably excited something happened. But Ciara's like, I'm really private. I don't like that. And I was like, it was.
Ciara started the discussion in the house. Like, she said it at the kitchen. So you can't be mad if he's telling the guys if you're telling the girls.
Well, but also, I think the problem is Lindsay came up to Ciara, right? And was like, heard you were kissing last night and blah, blah, blah. So Ciara's like, what happened in that car? Are they just discussing me and Wes kissing?
I see now. It's about that.
I don't think she's mad that the house knows. I think she's mad it's being discussed.
Behind, like, without her.
Yeah, it's open knowledge that everyone can talk about.
Especially like when we're in bed kissing. It's different than like if you kissed after a first date. Like that's kind of
like my dude Wes. What's Lindsay doing out here?
Lindsay's about to fuck that relationship up too.
This relationship. Do not destroy this relationship. So the boys are talking. Carl thinks Lindsay should say something first to him. Kyle's like, I'll get the deets from Amanda. Let me talk. So Kyle goes over to Amanda and Ciara, and he's like, hey, Amanda, it's cool you're in black to hide your sweat stains. We should go air out and go talk. And I was like, no, this dude knows how to talk to women, you know?
Great husband
and
award.
So Amanda and Kyle talk, and Amanda's like, oh, last night I was so tired, I just like Irish goodbyed. And Kyle's like, I saw something was off with Lindsay and Carl. And I was like, oh, he's going to get to the bottom. But no, Kyle goes, I appreciate we as a couple have made it through. And I was like, no one cares.
No.
Kyle, get the details.
I was going to say, get the details from Amanda. I want to know what Amanda was thinking in that moment, talking to drunk Lindsay.
Yeah. So then Amanda's like, I understand fighting with your fiance before you're married. Like, if anyone gets that, it's Amanda and Kyle.
That they're fighting. But she goes, that is normal. It's
Well, Amanda says this feels different.
Yeah.
It's different. So Kyle says he feels like him and Amanda need better communication and actually put the work in. And Amanda's like, we're working on it. We've been through a lot. So Kyle's like, should we go to couples therapy? And Amanda's like, no. I was like, oh.
Which I think we saw that in the preview, but I was like, Amanda, like, he's willing to work, and maybe he's only willing to work on it because like you're putting this on camera, but still, like, I think everybody should be in couples therapy. Like, you shouldn't do it like when you're at your wit's end. Like, you should do it as if it's maintenance.
I also agree. Amanda does say like she supports Kyle getting therapy, and Kyle's like, no, that's not it. I think
that's a great place to start.
And Amanda's like, yeah, I think Kyle should start with individualized therapy. Yeah. I do think that.
I think they should be probably each have their own therapist and then have a separate couples therapist.
And then couples. Yeah. I agree. Anyway, Amanda says she's like PMSing and she doesn't want to talk about this right now, but catch her on a good day and maybe she'll say yes. I think Amanda just doesn't want to discuss this on camera. I think Amanda was like, we were fine 2 seconds ago and now we're going to couples therapy. Apparently.
I mean, I hate to make a generalization about men, but it also, I feel like sometimes comes off that like guys are like, oh, like let's go to couples therapy, and them suggesting it is the fix, or like anybody suggesting couples therapy is the fix. But then I wonder if they've been in couples therapy and when they're actually in it and in the session, like Kyle is not, it's not productive. And so if that's the case, then like I totally get her being like, I'm not spending an hour a week sitting on a chair when like you're not actively working on this.
Also, truthfully, I don't think I would do couples therapy with someone who's not getting therapy on their own. Because like, we're just going to discuss our issues as a couple, but what about your issues as a person? Yeah. That'd be like Lindsay and Carl being like, let's just do, which I think, okay, but Lindsay, I think, sees a separate therapist and a couples therapist. But that'd be like if Lindsay and Carl were like, let's just do couples therapy when they both have their own issues to figure out. And that's what's causing the couple arguments.
But it could be a gateway into that person getting individual therapy too.
It could. You're right. Also.
I mean, I think they've done it before. So this would not be the gate. This would not be the spark if they've already done it.
Who cares? So Amanda says no, but she's like, call me when I'm not on my period. Great. So it's 3:34 p.m. Wes and Jesse share some food. It's very cute. Jesse's got a ginormous mouth. Carl and Lindsay still aren't talking, and it is awkward. Oh. I felt it through the screen. If I was I would be pissed at this house. I could tell you.
It makes me feel like I'm like at home with my parents. Like, I don't, get me out of this. I don't want this. You can fight, but then like, please talk to each other. I don't need this.
On the plus side, Ciara's sitting on Wes's lap.
I ship it so hard. It's going at the exact pace I need because we obviously get this week to week. So I love how this is progressing in my life.
Just, again, if any Bravo producers are listening, if we could just cut a lot of the Lindsay Carl stuff, because it sounds like we have the same argument every time, and just give me more Wes Ciara. Maybe send them to the store together.
We need, a good store car drive. I need that. But we do need the Lindsay Carl stuff because I need proof by the time we get to the reunion to be like, how many fights did we have?
I agree. I just think it could be cut.
It's boring. It's like a
I'm going
boring
into
trial,
this.
like just getting evidence. It feels so clinical.
Meredith, I wrote down half this next argument, and then I wrote, they're just going in circles.
We don't need to discuss it. It's delusion.
Great.
Central.
So Lindsay and Carl asked Lindsay to go for a walk. They go to talk.
Which point
Lindsay
to Carl
like,
for like starting the conversation. I think that takes balls after ignoring each other all day.
Agreed. So Lindsay wants to hear Carl's perspective of last night. Carl says he's not doing drugs. Lindsay says she never said that. She was asking if he was doing weed. And Carl's like, Lindsay, I'm sober. And you know that I'm tired of going out and I don't need to explain. Mm-hmm. And Lindsay says we need more communication to figure out the root of what's going on with your aggression. And Carl says Lindsay's aggressive and she accuses him and raises her voice and swears. And Lindsay says Carl's changing the narrative. And Carl says he's not. And Lindsay says he's angry. And he says, of course he's angry because he's getting gaslighted. And she wants to go home or she can't understand why he wants to go home. So she accuses him of doing something. And Lindsay's like, but you smoke weed. And Carl's like, yeah. So, but why are you saying it in a hurtful way? Did I miss anything?
No,
they have that whole conversation. You're accusing me of doing alcohol, so I'm going to accuse you. Doing drugs is different than weed. I'm mad. I'm allowed to be mad. You're aggressive.
I think at the end of the day, what I believe happened is they got in that car. Carl was like quiet, probably like done with the day. Lindsay's like, what's wrong? He says nothing, but when you're drunk, like you have a different perception of things.
She pushes.
She's like, no, you're mad about something. Tell me, whatever. And then he probably like gets mad because she won't leave him alone. And it just like spirals out of control. And also when you're drunk, like you tend to like talk louder and like you're just different. And so like Carl reads Lindsay. So Lindsay does get aggressive when she's drunk, but then like it bothers me that Lindsay can never see that like, hey, I was probably aggressive in that conversation. She, like the way she tells him like, you were the aggressive one. You were the one yelling. Babe, there is no way you were not yelling back.
I agree. I think exactly how you said it. That's how it probably happened. I think Lindsay needs to really take some ownership the next morning and apologize. We know she's not going to.
It's like her lack of embarrassment
has a total
is like
right to be mad.
Insane. I wake up the next morning and I know I've caused fights, and my immediate first text is like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm so embarrassed.
Even if I haven't caused fights, I wake up with anxiety and I go, is everyone mad at me?
We should study Lindsay because her like lack of anxiety is insane to me.
Yeah, like in a way, I wish I had just a drop of it because I don't want to be this crazy.
Like, does she gaslight herself into not feeling bad?
It's amazing. Well, whatever. Lindsay says that Carl's changing the narrative and walks away.
That is insane to me because that tells me like she, in her heart of hearts, believes he just like yells at her and like all this stuff.
She believes.
And you can't argue with that.
That's crazy. I know. But like, where do I get this delusion? Can I have some?
It's giving me like the Sarah Ann delusion from Love is Blind too. I'm like, what planet are you living on?
Where'd you go?
I want Andy to ask at this reunion, like, do you think like you're argumentative too? Like, what do you like? How are you reacting in these arguments? Because we're not getting Lindsay's perspective from like the talking head like chair interview. Like, I want Lindsay to sit down in that interview. I want Carl to tell me his perspective, Lindsay to tell her perspective of the whole entire thing. Because I bet you if we like back and forth at the reunion, Carl would be like, yeah, I was yelling at you. And Lindsay would be like, I didn't yell.
It's crazy. It also gives, do you remember at BravoCon when that one question was asked to Lindsay and it was like, do you feel bad about the way you treated Danielle now looking back? And Lindsay was literally like, no. Mm-hmm. And I was like, the delusion.
You don't have any regrets?
Crazy. That's what's though gonna happen at the reunion. She's gonna be like, I take no responsibility for my actions.
Does she not also see like the public outpouring of hate towards her? Like I don't see anyone on her side.
I looked on her Instagram yesterday and nothing was posted.
Oh, like an apology?
Like, I just wanted her to explain herself.
Oh, she will not. Like, after the, like, episode 2, like, the first fights, her, like, doubling down in her interview chair, her doubling down on her Instagram, her, like, quadrupling down on Watch What Happens Live. It was just insane.
It was
I
crazy.
truly to this day think she thinks she did nothing wrong.
Agreed. And it's crazy. So, Kyle and Danielle have been like watching the whole thing, and Lindsay goes up to them and is like, Carl is screaming at me. And Danielle, again, for the second time this episode, and this is why I kind of forgot about her this episode, but she goes, I'm just gonna excuse myself.
I love
and she
her.
leaves.
She's doing so good.
That was amazing. She's like, I'm not involved. And so Jesse and Amanda check in with Carl. Carl's super upset about Lindsay rationalizing her drinking. He's just at a loss of what to do. Amanda lets Carl know they all understand because they've all experienced it from Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
So they know. And Carl's like, yeah, but it's different when I'm her lover. And I went, yes, but also you.
I'm like, stop. What? You lost me. You lost me being on your side when you use that word.
Lover, can I go where you go? Yeah, we're gonna get dinged because Taylor Swift's not gonna let us sing her songs badly. Anyway, ew, I hated it. So we cut back to Kyle and Lindsay. Kyle explains to Lindsay that she acts irrationally. And Kyle's like, well, because Lindsay's like, you're choosing his side. And Kyle's like, I'm not choosing sides. She's like, yes, you are, because you're coming at me. And Kyle's like, listen, Carl's just quieter. You're more vocal. Like, it's just, shut up. They get nothing done. It's time to leave. We go back to the house. We're doing our camping night tonight. But Gabby goes in her room with Lindsay, and Lindsay's so sad that she can't figure out how to communicate with Carl. And so Carl walks in, but Lindsay goes into the bathroom and shuts the door, and Gabby kind of looks at Carl and is like, just, no, it's not the time, you know? But Carl yells, and he's like, Lindsay, I'm sorry. Which I was like, no!
I know!
No.
I realized Carl, for this 2 times in a row, has pulled Lindsay to like have that discussion after the fight. Like, he's always the one to pull her. He's always the one to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry first, let alone the only one to say I'm sorry. Like, fuck, do not do this. Because you're letting her off the hook. And you're, like, in her mind, she believes, like, all right, he's sorry. Like, he takes ownership of this fight. She will never do any self-reflection and, like, take ownership of any of this. I need her to be absolutely grilled at the reunion.
So, Lindsay comes back in once Carl leaves. She's crying. Gabby's like, you just need to communicate better. And she tells Lindsay that it's her responsibility to figure out how to communicate with him.
It is.
And Lindsay says, everything's always on me and no one understands what it's like to be judged. And Lindsay starts crying and she's not going to have this conversation. So she not only leaves Gabby's room, she fully leaves the house, squeezes through the front.
Stopped.
She squeezes her skinny little ass right through that front gate and then just starts walking down the street. I'm glad Gabby didn't go after her. Gabby saw that little squeeze and went, there's no way.
Gabby was in like a swimsuit and nothing else. I'm not following you down the street. But during that fight, Gabby also said it's not just your responsibility. Like, I'm telling you what your responsibility is. And then like this is where Lindsay's mind, I just don't get it because she, like, no one ever says it is solely your responsibility to figure out communication. She's just saying your responsibility lies in figuring out how to communicate with him. That is your partner. He's really sensitive about this. Like, you've got to figure out your side of things.
Completely agree. We get a to be continued, which I think is out of control. Stop to be continuing me.
Unless you're going to pick up where that Lindsay's on the side of the street, there's no to be continued.
It's just like, cut it out.
You're
overusing it. Like, I'm not that excited now. I'm not like, oh no, next week. Who knows what's going to happen? I know
every episode is to be continued. Like, there is more. Always.
Unless Lindsay gets hit by a car, I'm not going to be surprised next week.
If Lindsay got hit by a car, she would say it was Carl's fault because he drove her to walk out of that house.
It was. No, I'm just kidding. So, let's do fun, not fun. Would you like to go first? I went first for Vanderpump.
Well, you're just mad at me because I pick all the best people at Vanderpump.
I know, you just go first.
You can go first. I need a minute to think about this.
My not fun. I really want to go off of just like who actually did I enjoy this episode and who did I not enjoy, you know? Not so much if you were fun, not fun. But I do have to say, I do think Lindsay brings the house down.
I'm not funning it.
So I'm just
I'm doubling down with you. It's her yelling at Gabby too, like
it's everything. It's like arguing with Kyle. She brings Amanda and do it with the ramen. She then won't talk to him. And then it's awkward for everyone else. And then she, of course, this is where this made me pick her, was when she told Ciara about the kissing. And now Ciara's a little hesitant with West.
You're right. Lindsay has no drop of fun in her. That's what really gets her.
There's no fun.
Summer
she could sometimes be funny.
Lindsay, not fun.
That's the thing. Sometimes she's funny, and I take that. Like, she, to me, is a very similar thing to Sheena, where I think she's just so crazy that sometimes it's funny to watch, and I enjoy it. This isn't even funny. No. It's just, I don't want it.
I don't want it.
I don't care.
It makes me angry.
Well, who was your fun? There honestly wasn't a lot of fun in this. It was just arguments.
I know. I gotta go with West. He's like riding a high off the date.
He's the best.
He loved us. He was like all over Ciara in a good way, like really excited, like putting in the effort, energy. I love it.
I'm gonna give it to I can't remember who we did last week. Who do you think we did last week?
It's independent.
I know, but I just want to make sure because I'm between two. I
bet we did West and Ciara last week. We did because they went on their date.
Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go West, or I'm gonna go Jesse.
Nice.
You do West, I'll do Jesse. I think their bromance is very fun. I think it's kind of this is kind of funny. He's like into Paige and everyone knows, but like fucking Craig's in the picture and like whatever with Craig, you know, it's funny.
You know what? Those two boys
he also has a giant mouth.
Are carrying the fun.
Yeah, he has a huge mouth, which is absolutely fucking hilarious. Like it's just funny, you know, it's funny to deal with. So, yeah, great. Should we read some thoughts that we got from the episode?
Well, really quick. Oh, yeah, do that. And then if these two topics don't get discussed, I'll bring them up at the end.
Okay, so Casey said this season, 1, Lindsay making everyone else uncomfortable and not taking any accountability. It's always Carl's fault, and if he doesn't come crawling back, she lashes out. How exhausting. It's sad and embarrassing. Team Carl would have left her Delulu ass a long time ago. Her behavior is totally unacceptable, and she's playing victim. Talk about Sandoval behavior, since she loves to throw that around so easily. I agree. I really did think I think she thought she was going to have her Sandoval moment, but it's unfortunate. Also, weed doesn't typically make one angry, usually does the opposite. So the fact that she's using that excuse as what he is on is bullshit. She clearly knows he smokes weed and clearly wants the audience to know. She's backtracking like sober Carl started to excuse her excessive drinking. And it's just fucking rude. And the fact that she can't even say a simple, I'm sorry that's hurtful to you is so unfair.
Yeah, honestly. She can't even get like out a bad apology. Like the I'm sorry, but the I'm sorry you feel that way type of apology.
I'm sorry you're sad. I'm sorry I hurt you. Like it could be so simple. But Casey says, poor new guys, this is totally killing the summer house vibe. And Ciara got the it.
No, she didn't.
No.
I think she got nervous.
No. I think she's uncomfortable, but I don't think she's got the ick. Okay, so, but you can also have the ick to someone you're dating, which is fun. That's the funniest part. Like Millie Bobby Brown is engaged to, what's his name? Bon Jovi's kid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she's like, you know what? He gave me the ick. And in an interview, she's like, he got a nosebleed and was acting like it hurt. And that gave me the ick. And I was cracking up.
You're like, just don't get a nosebleed again.
So also she saw him hold an umbrella and she's like, and now I have the ick from him again. Oh my God. That's a good ick. Anyway, Lauren says, I enjoyed all of the non-Carl and Lindsay components to the episode. Well, I missed Paige page a little. Would have loved to see more about how the West Ciara date impacted the weekend. I agree. Anyway, now Carl and Lindsay, you guys had the same opinions of them last year that I did. They were so happy to be in a relationship that they weren't being themselves. They were playing the happy and in love people that they hoped to be. Reality finally set in. I don't think they were ready and willing to address how Lindsay continuing to drink would impact them. Carl obviously doesn't want her to drink, but also doesn't want to say that she can't. Lindsay in turn feels judged for it, which causes her to drink more, and there are likely more issues present, but that's the one most obvious during filming. I'm questioning.
I read it different. I don't think Carl minds her drinking. It's the starting after the berries class and drinking truly all day to where she's aggressive. But I don't think she's drinking more because she's judged. I think she's nervous about the girls. And like a lot of us, we drink when we like want to feel a little bit better and like less stressed about a certain situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like she is drinking a lot to try and like make the girl situation easier. And then it like hits a point where then like she turns aggressive and Carl's like, I don't like this, Lindsay. But like once you start the ship, the ball is rolling, it's kind of hard to stop it sometimes.
It's hard. Yeah. Lauren says, I'm questioning what they're discussing in couples counseling or how honest they are being.
Yeah.
Lindsay comes across as being highly irrational. She's Lindsay. But I feel like she's getting a bad edit. Quick note, I'm a Meredith, which is not to say not a Lindsay stan. I don't feel like we had the chance to see how the it was a lift conversation went down, and Carl filmed those confessionals after he knew they were ending or were over. Yeah, that was weird. Did you catch that? I left it out, but Lindsay's was like, "Oh, you're yelling at me in the Uber," and Carl goes, "It was a lift, actually," and I went, "Like,
no,
yes.
I did not catch that." That's so
when
funny.
They were sitting on the stairs. She's like, "You're yelling at me in the Uber," and he's like, "It was a lift." And I went,
what does he have a sponsorship with them? Like,
who? That's what I thought.
Honestly,
it was.
I actually did catch that he said it was a lift at the pool, and I was like, who calls it a lift? Like when you're generically telling
That's what I said. My God, I ordered a lift last night, and I said, I'm Ubering home.
Yes.
I'm not going to say I'm lifting
ride Lyfts
home.
more
That's
because
crazy.
of like I get better points with like credit cards and stuff, but I always say like I'm going to call it Uber.
I'm
unless
Ubering,
I tell them what we're looking for, like because you know the stickers in the cars. Like I don't clarify. It is Uber is a verb, a noun.
I don't either.
About getting a car home.
Yeah. So anyway, the relationship needs to end, but I'm not ready to put all the blame on Lindsay. Carl needs to be more honest about what he wants in a partner because I think he wants someone who is sober like him, which is fair, but he can't blame her if he never said that to her. I agree. I do say I think Carl's at fault for not actually being sober for a year before entering a relationship. I do think it can look bad when like a big tall man is like frustrated with you. It looks aggressive. I also think they were fake their whole first year. I think that was all fake. I think Carl is lying about saying he doesn't want someone who's sober. I do think Carl not having a job is like impacting this. I think there's a lot. I do. I'm not fully saying Lindsay is at fault because a sober sports bar would make me want to drink too if that's where our livelihood's sitting, you know? Yeah. However, accusing him of not being sober is crazy.
That's the thing is like Lindsay's doing
not
something's right and something's wrong. And Carl is doing like something's right in the fact that like I don't think he's being aggressive and like starting fights by any means, but like he's not openly communicating with her when they are sober, when they are at home about like their troubles. Like he is so avoidant, and that's where his problem lies.
I think Lindsay's biggest problem is she can't take ownership and apologize for
Carl
her
avoids
actions.
any serious
if she did
conversations.
Listen, if she did that, I think then it lands on Carl.
I agree.
Are you okay with someone who's drinking?
I think the next day conversations would be a lot different.
Yes, because then if Lindsay's apologizing for what happened in the Uber and Carl responds, it was actually a lift, I'd be like, what a fucking loser.
That's the thing. That's it. Like I would be so much
still
more
a loser comment, but yeah. So Tonette says, I'll say it again. I've never thought Carl and Lindsay were right for each other, and the more I watch them, it's confirmed. Carl looks fed up with Lindsay's shenanigans, and this white and blue Western shirt dress needs to be burned.
Wait, I
and
loved
never
it.
thought of again.
I wanted it.
I don't remember it. That's how little it meant to me.
It was her outfit where she was
Which
like,
one
will you
was it?
unzip
Who was
me?
wearing
And he
it?
goes, no.
Oh, that one.
I was like, wait, okay, if you're in a fight, still, it's hard as a girl to get out of a dress. As a girl who lives alone,
You're gonna make me sleep in this dress?
don't do that to me.
So it's hideous. Amanda just wants to eat her damn ramen and not listen to Lindsay describe Carl as a damn terrorist. Yeah, poor the house. I feel bad for the house. Okay, now it's my favorite topic to talk about. Ciara and West. Him licking her face is a little gross. I thought it was hot. But overall, fucking adorable, especially how huge of a smile she had. I want to know specifically how long they were making out in Ciara's bedroom, though, because I'm invested. Well, they got home around 12:30, and he didn't go to bed till 4:30. But you got to put for like, let's say 2.5 hours, they were probably just like talking and hanging out
and kissing,
with the group.
like,
so I would say about an hour.
Yeah.
I would say an hour they probably made out.
Here's the thing, they are
hardcore,
such jokey people. There's no way they're just making out straight for an hour because they were cracking jokes.
That'd be it. Wes would be like, Ciara would be like, are your eyes open? And he'd be like, I don't know. Did you look? He'd be like, do you
That's
want to kiss
what I
again
want.
to see?
I don't want to just.
Here's what I look like.
I don't
want to
just kiss you straight for an hour. That's weird to me.
Same.
I want to have
How
banter.
Weird.
I want this.
Yeah, I'm gonna think about a lot of things if we're just kissing for an hour. I'm not there presently. Mm-hmm. We gotta talk. Yeah. So, fun for Tonette is Danielle for knowing when to keep her thoughts to herself. Oh, great. She did fantastic. Not fun, Lindsay, because her paranoid and defensive ass always thinks someone is out to get her. Yep. Yeah, it's just a lot. Okay, so thank you so much for really being a part of the episode.
2 things I have. Oh, what? Is Carl on Watch What Happens Live. Andy asked him who's at fault for the relationship, and he said, we both are equally responsible. And that is the self-reflection.
Oh, that's nice.
He's doing good on his, like, he didn't go on, like, a pre-press tour, obviously. Like, he would have gotten roasted. But, like, he's doing really good talking about, like, the difficult of, like, nuanced things where he's kind of showing that, like, he knows he did things wrong, but like he said he doesn't regret calling production, like the cameras. I back him for that.
I do too.
And also, did you
at this point? I was mad at first.
Yeah. Did you see the announcement that he started a company, like a media company, all about like sober, like whatever. I mean, I don't know what he's done yet with it, but like he announced like
sober what TV
living
shows?
No, like sober living. So I'm sure like in theory a podcast would jot off of that and his like idea to be a motivational speaker. And I like posted it on our Instagram story the day it happened, but he is making moves, some career moves. And on Watch What Happens Live, he said this was such shade, but like good shade in my opinion. He was like, yeah, I can finally start doing things now that Lindsay's not holding me back. And I was like, oh my God.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's called the Radke Boys.
The name's cute. It's like in honor of his
Offer
brother.
help through my experiences, encourage open dialogue about sobriety and mental health, and be an inspiration for personal growth and transformation.
Mm-hmm. He's also working on a film, I do know. Like they shot it, I think in the in the fall or something. He's making business moves.
I love that. It looks like all 4 of the boys still hang out.
Oh yeah.
That's funny. I don't know why I find that funny, but that's funny. Poor Chris just didn't get included, you know?
I know. But that's what I thought of whenever Wes and like Jesse were like riding were, you know, broing out. Is like we never had that with Chris. Like I enjoyed watching Chris. I think he's a great B character, but it just never
the friendship just wasn't
as natural.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. Well, anything else to discuss?
Nope, those are my only things.
Amazing. Okay, so do all the things that I said at the beginning of the episode. And again, we will be back next week to cover the next episode. And hopefully we get a little less Carl and Lindsay and a little more Ciara West.
I need a break. They need a break from the fighting. At least we pick up in the same weekend. So like
they should go back to the White House or something. Also, though, I do appreciate the to be continued of what happens to Lindsay on the streets. the mean streets of the Hamptons, you know?
The mean streets of
She's
Montauk.
not going to make it out there. She's not going to make it out there.
No, not at all.
Okay, so great. Thanks for joining.
Thanks. Bye.